The butterfly surprise. Lily worried the edge of her pink-rimmed glasses, her gaze riveted to the shipping tracker on her phone. A jubilant green banner declared, "Out for delivery. Any second." Any second. She refreshed the screen. Still the same maddening status. Her butterfly garden. It was almost here. Weeks she'd waited, imagining the minuscule mesh habitat and the ravenous caterpillars within, destined to blossom into glorious monarchs. Excitement tickled her insides, a phantom echo of fluttering wings. This would be the summer of metamorphosis. A glance at the window revealed the lace curtains dancing in the gentle zephyr. Any second now. The delivery truck was a creature of habit, lumbering down elm, then maple, before finally gracing their quiet little Oak Drive cul-de-sac. She bounced on her toes, the aged floorboards groaning in protest. Lost in the world of her novel, her mother remained oblivious on the couch. Lily exhaled, trying to rein in her anticipation. Patience, she told herself, was a virtue. One she apparently lacked in spectacular fashion at this precise moment. Another refresh. Still mocking her with "out for delivery." Abandoning the sofa, Lily planted herself at the window, peering through the lace. The sun hammered down, making the asphalt shimmer like a mirage. A sleek black cat strutted across Mrs. Gable's manicured lawn, pausing for a fastidious bath. A robin pecked industriously at the bird feeder, scattering seeds. But no sign of the telltale brown truck. Time warped each moment in eternity. Every passing vehicle sent a jolt of unwarranted hope through her, only to be swallowed by disappointment. She pictured the larvae gorging themselves on the supplied milkweed, swelling, growing, preparing for their astounding transformation. She yearned to witness the spectacle. At last, the rumble. The groan of a heavy engine, the shriek of protesting brakes. Her pulse quickened. She pressed her face against the cool glass, peering intently. There. The delivery truck inching down Oak Drive, its familiar brown logo emblazoned proudly. It halted 2 houses down, and Lily held her breath as the driver emerged, clutching a parcel. He completed his delivery, retreated to the cab, and fired up the engine. Closer, closer. He stopped directly in front of the Chun residence. Lily could barely contain herself. She watched as the driver consulted his scanner, then delved into the truck's cavernous interior. He retrieved a package. A bulky, rectangular box. Not her butterfly kit. This one was far too large, too geometric. It resembled the sort of container her father received when he indulged in his exotic coffee bean obsession. Disappointment crashed over her, a cold wave of reality. She watched, crestfallen, as the driver deposited the box on the porch without so much as a ring of the doorbell. He simply turned and retreated to his vehicle. Lily waited until the truck had vanished around the bend before venturing outside. The box sat sentinel on the porch, a brown behemoth mocking her lepidopteran fantasies. She nudged it with her foot. "Lily? What's all the ruckus?" Her mother called from within. "Just a package, Mom," she mumbled, her voice devoid of inflection. She pulled out her phone once more. The app now brazenly declared, "Delivered." Delivered. But where? She scrutinized the porch, the yard, even beneath the unruly rose bushes flanking the house. Nothing. No compact, rectangular carton containing her precious, crawling cargo. A knot of frustration twisted in her gut. Delivered where? To whom? She double-checked the address printed on the coffee bean carton. Correct. 142 Oak Drive. Undeniably their home. Then a subtle movement snagged her attention. Mrs. Crabapple, the neighborhood association president, was retrieving her mail from her box across the street. The woman, perpetually clad in a severe expression and a drab beige cardigan, even in the sweltering summer, clutched a handful of envelopes. Her gaze swept across Lily's lawn with unnerving scrutiny. Lily scowled. Mrs. Crabapple had been particularly attentive lately, ever since the unfortunate incident involving the misplaced lawn gnome. Could she possibly have? No. Absurd. But as Mrs. Crabapple turned to retreat inside, Lily noticed something tucked beneath the woman's arm, partially concealed by the beige fabric, a small, rectangular box. The perfect dimensions for a butterfly kit. Lily's jaw went slack. Mrs. Crabtree's watchful eyes. The chipped ceramic frog on the Chun family's porch, a relic from Lily's grandmother, never failed to greet her with its vacant, glassy stare. Lily readjusted her bright pink glasses and unlocked the front door, the key sticking slightly as always. A glint of light caught her eye from across the street. Mrs. Crabtree's lace-curtained window, like a watchful eye, seemed to follow her every move. Lily had noticed it before, the subtle parting of the curtains, the almost imperceptible shift in Mrs. Crabtree's posture as she sat perched by the window. It was unnerving, like living under constant surveillance. She knew Mrs. Crabtree took her self-appointed role as the HOA president very seriously. The HOA, or the Homeowners Association, was Mrs. Crabtree's kingdom, and its rules were her commandments. Each house must maintain a precisely manicured lawn, no higher than 2 inches. Holiday decorations were permitted only during the officially designated weeks. And woe betide anyone who dared to leave a trash can out for more than 12 hours after pickup. Lily's dad joked that the HOA bylaws were longer than the Constitution. Lily sighed, stepping inside. The aroma of her mom's ginger chicken stir-fry filled the air, a welcome distraction from the outside world. Later, after dinner, Lily decided to shoot a few hoops in the driveway. The rhythmic thump of the basketball against the asphalt was soothing. She imagined herself sinking the winning shot in a championship game. Lost in her reverie, she didn't notice when her younger brother, Max, joined her, dragging his plastic dinosaurs along for company. He lined them up along the edge of the driveway, a Jurassic cheerleading squad. The game ended abruptly when a voice, sharp and laced with disapproval, cut through the evening air. "Lily and Chin." Lily cringed. It was Mrs. Crabtree marching purposefully across the meticulously maintained lawns separating their houses. Her floral-printed dress seemed to bristle with indignation. "Mrs. Crabtree," Lily said, forcing a smile. "Is everything all right?" "All right?" Mrs. Crabtree repeated, her voice rising an octave. "I hardly think so. Do you realize you are in direct violation of Rule 3:14, subsection B, regarding the placement of non-approved decorative items on common areas?" Lily glanced down at Max's plastic dinosaurs. A T-Rex glared back at her. "You mean the dinosaurs?" "Indeed, I do. They are unsightly, they detract from the neighborhood's aesthetic, and they are a clear violation." Mrs. Crabtree puffed out her chest. "Furthermore," she continued, pointing a bony finger at Lily's abandoned basketball, "sports equipment must be stored when not in use. This is clearly stated in Rule 4:2, subsection A." Lily's smile wavered. "They were only out here for a few minutes. Rules are rules, Lillian. They are in place to maintain order and property values." Mrs. Crabtree's gaze swept over the Chen's house, lingering a moment on the slightly overgrown rose bushes by the porch. "I expect this to be rectified immediately." Lily bit back a retort. Arguing with Mrs. Crabtree was like arguing with a brick wall. "Yes, Mrs. Crabtree," she said, scooping up the basketball and signaling Max to gather his dinosaurs. As Mrs. Crabtree turned to leave, her back ramrod straight, Lily couldn't resist. "Have a pleasant evening, Mrs. Crabtree." Mrs. Crabtree paused, her shoulders tensing. "See that you do," she muttered, before resuming her march back to her window, her watchful eyes. Lily turned to Max, who was clutching his dinosaurs tightly. "Come on," she said, a new determination hardening her gaze behind her pink glasses. "Let's put these guys in a safe place. A safe place where Mrs. Crabtree couldn't reach them. And maybe, just maybe, a safe place where Lily could hatch a plan of her own." "The missing package." "It's gone, Mom." The butterfly kit vanished. Lily cried, her rose-tinted spectacles sliding down her nose as she tore through the chaotic entryway. The flattened remains of the cardboard container mocked her desperate search. Malin emerged from the kitchen, drying her hands. "Vanished? Sweetheart, are you certain you didn't simply misplace it?" "Absolutely." Lily's voice climbed an octave. "I opened it right here, remember? We admired the tiny caterpillars. I did homework and then poof. It's like it sprouted wings and took flight." A frown deepened the lines on Malin's face. "That's peculiar. I haven't touched it and your father's still at work. Are you entirely sure?" Lily gave an emphatic nod, the bright lenses of her glasses flashing like tiny beacons. "Positive, Mom, 100%. Malin sighed, raking a hand through her hair. "Okay. Let's retrace your steps. Did anyone visit?" "Deliveries." Lily shook her head, her ponytail swishing. "Only the mail carrier, but he only brought bills and flyers." Malin mused, tapping her chin. "Actually, now that you mention it, earlier I observed Mrs. Crabtree wrestling with an odd-looking package." Lily's eyes widened, her mouth slightly agape. "Mrs. Crabtree? A package? What did it look like?" Malin struggled to conjure a clear image. "Well, it was uniquely shaped. Tall and slender, I believe. And rather geometric, like a collection of stacked boxes. Brown paper concealed it, but it definitely wasn't standard." She seemed to be struggling, muttering something about meddling neighbors. A sudden suspicion jolted Lily. "That's it. It has to be. Mrs. Crabtree pilfered my butterfly kit." The image of the angular package solidified in her mind, a match for the multi-compartment caterpillar habitat. "Now, Lily, let's not leap to conclusions," Malin cautioned, her brow furrowing. "It could have been anything." "But Mom, think." She loathes butterflies. She saturates her garden with insecticide to exterminate them. Plus, she's always peeking through her blinds. It all adds up. She probably thinks the butterfly kit will lure undesirable elements to the community. Lily dripped with sardonic imitation. Malin pursed her lips. Okay, I concede it's circumstantial. But we require evidence before making accusations. Perhaps we simply inquire about it. Inquire. Lily scoffed. She'll deny it to the grave. She's a champion of deception. Remember when she swore she didn't relocate our bins? Even though they wound up on her property? Malin gave a weak chuckle. All right, you have a point. But storming her residence and demanding its return is hardly diplomatic. Lily began to pace, her thoughts a whirlwind. What else can we do? My caterpillars. They depend on me. They'll perish without their special nutrients. We'll brainstorm, Malin reassured, squeezing Lily's shoulder. How about a little reconnaissance first? Perhaps we can uncover some evidence implicating Mrs. Crabtree without a direct confrontation. Lily ceased her pacing, a spark of resolve flickering in her gaze. Reconnaissance? You mean a covert operation? Malin smiled. Well, maybe not exactly a covert operation, but we can certainly monitor her house to see if the box resurfaces. A plan began to take root in Lily's mind, a plan woven with secrecy, observation, and maybe a dash of daring. This was no longer about a mere butterfly kit. This was about rectifying a wrong. This was about bringing the infamous Mrs. Crabtree to justice once and for all. And it hinged on the peculiarities of that strangely shaped, suspiciously angular box. Operation Butterfly Rescue. She definitely took it, Sam. I just know it, Lily whispered, pink glasses glinting in the afternoon sun. They were perched on the edge of her porch swing, attempting to be discreet, though Mrs. Crabtree's perpetually twitching curtains suggested they were already under observation. Sam, meticulously cleaning his own glasses with the edge of his t-shirt, sighed. Lily, we can't just accuse her. We need proof. Remember what happened with the missing gnomes? Turns out they were just relocated. Lily groaned. Relocated to Mr. Henderson's koi pond. That's basically gnome napping, Sam. She hopped off the swing, pacing the porch. But this is different. This is science. This is about butterflies. And it was my butterfly kit. She probably thinks it's unnatural or something. Okay, breathe, Sam said, holding up his hands. Let's think. Operation Butterfly Rescue needs a plan. He tapped his chin, a thoughtful expression on his face. First, reconnaissance. We need to observe Mrs. Crabtree's movements. See if she's acting suspicious, maybe carrying a suspicious box. Excellent, Lily exclaimed, grabbing a bright purple notebook and a pen from the porch table. I'll be lead investigator. You're communications and logistics. Communications and logistics? Sam raised an eyebrow. Sounds fancy. Does that mean I get walkie-talkies? Lily rummaged through a dusty box in the corner of the porch. Even better. Binoculars. She triumphantly pulled out a pair of old, slightly scratched binoculars. Grandpa's. He used them for bird watching. Now they'll be used for Crabtree watching. Sam grinned. All right, let's do this. Where do we set up our observation post? They surveyed the landscape. Mrs. Crabtree's house was directly across the street, but a clear view was obstructed by a towering oak tree and her meticulously sculpted rose bushes. Too obvious, Lily said, shaking her head. We need something covert. Her gaze landed on the towering jungle gym in her backyard. The crow's nest. Perfect vantage point. Within minutes, they were scrambling up the jungle gym, Lily practically bouncing with anticipation. The crow's nest, a small platform at the top, offered a surprisingly clear view of Mrs. Crabtree's backyard. All right, binoculars ready, Lily whispered, adjusting the focus. Let's see what our suspect is up to. For the next hour, they meticulously documented Mrs. Crabtree's activities. She watered her roses, meticulously pruned her hedges, and chased away a squirrel that dared to venture onto her lawn. Nothing, Sam said, stifling a yawn. Just Crabtree things. Lily frowned. She's being too normal. It's suspicious. She scribbled furiously in her notebook. Subject exhibits excessive gardening behavior. Possible attempt to conceal guilt. Suddenly, Mrs. Crabtree disappeared inside her house. A few minutes later, she emerged carrying a large wicker basket. Bingo! Lily gasped, nudging Sam. What's in the basket? Could it be the butterfly kit? Mrs. Crabtree walked to the back of her yard towards a small, overgrown patch of wildflowers hidden behind a shed. She knelt down and carefully placed the basket on the ground. She's hiding something, Lily declared, her voice barely a whisper. This is it, Sam. Operation Butterfly Rescue is officially in motion. Through the window, Lily tugged Sam behind the overgrown rhododendrons that bordered Mrs. Crabtree's yard. Careful, she whispered, her pink glasses glinting in the dappled sunlight. That rosebush bites. Sam, ever cautious, picked his way gingerly, his sneakers sinking slightly into the soft earth. Are you sure about this, Lily? Trespassing feels wrong. He adjusted his backpack, the straps digging into his shoulders. We're not exactly trespassing, Lily argued, crouching low. We're investigating. Remember what happened to my caterpillars? And Grandma's prize-winning petunias? It all points to Crabtree. A mockingbird scolded them from a nearby branch, its sharp chirps echoing in the otherwise still afternoon. Lily ignored it, her gaze fixed on the window of Mrs. Crabtree's sunroom. It was partially obscured by a climbing wisteria, but a narrow gap offered a tantalizing view. Okay, here's the plan, Lily said, her voice barely above a murmur. I'll give you a boost. You peek through the window and tell me what you see. Be quick, though. We don't want to get caught. Sam hesitated. The idea of being hoisted up to spy on Mrs. Crabtree filled him with a knot of unease. But the thought of Lily's dejected face after her caterpillars vanished and the memory of Grandma's devastated petunias pushed him forward. All right, he conceded. But if she comes out, we run. Lily grinned. Deal. She braced herself against the thick trunk of a maple tree, forming a makeshift step with her hands. Ready when you are. Sam took a deep breath and placed his foot in Lily's cupped hands. With a grunt, Lily hoisted him upward. He grabbed onto the rough bark of the maple for balance, his heart pounding against his ribs. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves filled his nostrils. Almost there, Lily urged, her voice strained. He stretched, his fingertips brushing against the cool glass of the window. He shifted his weight, peering through the narrow gap in the wisteria. At first, all he saw was a jumble of colors, pale green, bright yellow, and a disconcerting shade of orange. Then his eyes adjusted. I see her, he whispered, his voice trembling slightly. She's surrounded by stuff. Boxes and plastic things. What's she doing? Lily asked, her voice tight with anticipation. Sam squinted, trying to make sense of the scene inside. Mrs. Crabtree, her gray hair pulled back in a severe bun, was wrestling with a large, clear plastic panel. Her face was flushed and she was muttering under her breath. He could almost hear the gritted teeth. It looks like a butterfly habitat? Sam said, confusion lacing his voice. Yeah, definitely a butterfly habitat. But she's really struggling with it. She just smacked it with a rubber mallet. He could see Mrs. Crabtree fumbling with small plastic connectors, her brow furrowed in concentration. One of the connectors slipped from her grasp and bounced across the floor. She let out a frustrated huff. A butterfly habitat? Lily repeated, her voice filled with vindication. I knew it. She's trying to replace my caterpillars. She probably feels guilty. Sam continued to watch, mesmerized by the spectacle of Mrs. Crabtree's ineptitude. She tripped over a stray piece of cardboard, nearly sending the entire structure crashing to the ground. He stifled a giggle. She looks miserable, Sam said, almost feeling sorry for her. Miserable? Lily scoffed. She deserves to be miserable. She stole my caterpillars. Suddenly, Mrs. Crabtree straightened up, her eyes darting towards the window. Sam froze, his breath catching in his throat. Had she seen him? She's looking this way, he hissed. Pull me down. Now. Lily didn't hesitate. She lowered him carefully, her grip firm. As soon as his feet touched the ground, they scrambled away from the window, ducking back behind the thick foliage of the rhododendrons. They ran, their hearts pounding in unison until they reached the relative safety of Lily's backyard. They collapsed onto the grass, gasping for air. Did she see you? Lily asked, her voice still breathless. Sam shook his head. I don't think so. But it was close. Really close. Lily sat up, a triumphant grin spreading across her face. So, she's definitely got a butterfly habitat. That proves it. She's guilty. Sam, still catching his breath, looked thoughtful. Maybe, he said slowly. Or maybe she just wants butterflies. The confrontation. Lily adjusted her bright pink glasses, the plastic frames digging slightly into the bridge of her nose. She smoothed down the front of her floral sundress, took a deep breath, and knocked on Mrs. Crabtree's door. The sound echoed, sharp and accusatory, in the otherwise quiet hallway. A long moment stretched, filled only with the distant hum of the building's ancient ventilation system. Just as Lily was about to knock again, the door swung inward with surprising force, revealing Mrs. Crabtree. Mrs. Crabtree's face was set in a familiar, disapproving frown, her gray hair pulled back so tightly it seemed to lift her eyebrows. Her floral print dress, a faded echo of Lily's brighter version, hung loosely on her thin frame. Yes, she snapped, her voice like gravel on pavement. Mrs. Crabtree, Lily began, trying to keep her voice even. I think you might have my package. The frown deepened. I haven't the slightest idea what you're talking about, young lady. Lily pressed on. It was a small, brown box. It was supposed to be delivered yesterday, but it never arrived. I saw you picking up your mail around the time it should have been delivered. She watched Mrs. Crabtree's reaction closely. Mrs. Crabtree's eyes narrowed. Are you accusing me of stealing? Her voice rose in pitch, each word clipped and precise. How dare you? I have lived in this building for 30 years and I have never stolen anything in my life. I'm not saying you stole it, Lily backtracked, though the accusation hung heavy in the air. I'm just saying maybe there was a mix-up. Maybe you accidentally took it. Accidentally? Mrs. Crabtree scoffed. Do I look like someone who makes mistakes? I am a very careful person, unlike some people I could mention. Her gaze flicked pointedly at Lily's bright dress. I know exactly what mail belongs to me, and I certainly did not take any packages that weren't mine. Lily felt a surge of frustration. She just knew, that Mrs. Crabtree had taken the package. The woman's denial felt too forceful, too practiced. But how to prove it? Mrs. Crabtree, this is important, Lily pleaded, her voice softening. It's a gift for my grandmother's birthday. Well, it's kind of irreplaceable. Mrs. Crabtree's expression remained unchanged, a mask of righteous indignation. That is hardly my concern. Perhaps you should have been more careful about your deliveries. Or better yet, perhaps you shouldn't be ordering frivolous trinkets in the first place. Frivolous? Lily repeated, her voice rising despite her best efforts. You don't even know what it is. I know it's something unnecessary, Mrs. Crabtree retorted, her voice dripping with disapproval. This generation, so obsessed with material possessions. No respect for tradition. No respect for your elders. Respect. Lily's frustration boiled over. Respect goes both ways, Mrs. Crabtree. And right now, you're showing me absolutely none. She pointed a finger, her hand trembling slightly. I saw you. I saw you take my package. Just give it back. Mrs. Crabtree drew herself up, her back ramrod straight. I will not stand here and be insulted by a young woman who clearly has no sense of decorum. I suggest you leave my doorstep immediately before I call the building manager. Call him, Lily challenged, standing her ground. Call him and tell him you're holding my package hostage. Mrs. Crabtree's face flushed crimson. Get out, she shrieked, her voice cracking. She slammed the door shut, the sound echoing through the hallway, leaving Lily standing alone, her pink glasses slightly askew, the floral print of her dress suddenly feeling very out of place. The scent of lavender potpourri emanating from beneath Mrs. Crabtree's door lingered in the air, a cloying reminder of the woman's rigid control. A federal offense. Lily burst through the back door, her pink glasses askew from her headlong rush. Mom! You won't believe what happened. Her mom, a potter with clay-dusted hands, looked up from her wheel, a concerned furrow creasing her brow. Slow down, sweetheart. Take a breath. What's all the commotion? Lily perched on a stool, her legs swinging. Mrs. Crabtree was going through my mail. I saw her. Her mom's eyes widened. Going through your mail? What do you mean? I was getting the mail, and she was already there holding my package. She said it was a mistake, but she was totally looking at the label, Mom. It was addressed to me. Lily's voice rose with each word, indignation coloring her cheeks. Her mom wiped her hands on her apron, a serious expression settling on her face. Lily, that's not just a mistake. That's a federal offense. Lily's swinging legs stilled. A federal offense? What's that? It means it's a crime against the whole country, not just against you. The Postal Service is protected by federal law. Tampering with mail, opening someone else's mail, even taking it by accident. It's all a big deal. Her mom's voice was measured, carefully explaining the gravity of the situation. It's about protecting people's privacy and the integrity of the mail system. Lily's pink glasses glinted in the afternoon sun filtering through the kitchen window. So, she could go to jail? The thought hung in the air, heavy and unsettling. Mrs. Crabtree, jail? It seemed impossible. It depends, her mom said, her tone softening. It depends on the intent, the evidence, and what the postal inspector decides to do. But yes, it could potentially lead to serious consequences. It's not something to be taken lightly. She walked over to the counter and began kneading a lump of clay. The rhythmic thudding was the only sound in the room for a moment. The postal inspector? Lily asked, scrunching her nose. Who's that? They're like detectives for the post office. They investigate mail-related crimes. We might need to report this to them, Lily. Report Mrs. Crabtree? Lily's voice was small. She pictured Mrs. Crabtree's meticulously manicured hands that now felt tainted by the image of rifling through her package. A pang of guilt twisted in her stomach. Was she overreacting? I know it's hard, honey, her mom said, sensing her hesitation. But it's important. If she's doing this to you, she could be doing it to others. And even if it was just a mistake, she needs to understand the seriousness of her actions. Ignoring it could enable her. She placed the clay back on the wheel, her touch gentle but firm. Lily bit her lip. The image of Mrs. Crabtree's smug face flashed in her mind. The feeling of being violated, however small, resurfaced. It wasn't right. Okay, she said, her voice gaining strength. Okay, let's report it. Her mom smiled, a warm, reassuring smile that chased away some of Lily's apprehension. Good. I'll look up the number for the postal inspector online. We can call them tomorrow. The thought of making that call felt enormous. A step into a world of officialdom and consequences. But as Lily looked at her mom, at the quiet determination in her eyes, she knew it was the right thing to do. The aroma of damp clay filled the kitchen, a comforting scent that grounded her as they prepared to navigate the unfamiliar territory of federal offenses and postal investigations. The setting sun cast long shadows across the room, painting the scene in hues of orange and resolve. Agent Johnson investigates. The doorbell chimed, a bright, almost cheerful sound that grated on Agnes Crabtree's nerves. She smoothed down her floral print dress, adjusting the brooch shaped like a particularly smug-looking cat. Honestly, she muttered, peering through the peephole. A young man in a neatly pressed uniform stood on her porch, a postal service emblem gleaming on his breast pocket. She gestured him into the living room, a space dominated by doilies and porcelain figurines. Johnson took a seat on the edge of the floral sofa, careful not to wrinkle the pristine cushions. He pulled out a small notepad. So, Mrs. Crabtree, we received a complaint regarding a missing butterfly growing kit addressed to Miss Lily Chin. Agnes sniffed. That child? Always causing trouble. I saw the package. It was misplaced. Misplaced, ma'am? Can you elaborate? Johnson's pen hovered over the notepad. Well, Agnes began, her voice rising slightly. I saw it lying on the porch, exposed to the elements. I was simply concerned for its well-being. The sun, you know, can be very damaging to delicate butterfly larvae. So you brought it inside? Of course. I'm a responsible member of this community. I wouldn't want a perfectly good butterfly kit to go to waste. She folded her arms, a self-satisfied smirk playing on her lips. And where's it now, Mrs. Crabtree? Agnes shifted uncomfortably. It's somewhere safe. I'll have to look for it later. Johnson's smile tightened just a fraction. Perhaps we could look now? Save everyone some time. He stood up, his movements surprisingly quick and decisive. Agnes's face flushed. Really, this is unnecessary. I told you, I'll find it. Johnson's gaze swept around the room, landing on a closed closet door tucked into a corner. Is that a closet, Mrs. Crabtree? Yes, of course, it's a closet. What are you implying? Mind if I take a look? He didn't wait for an answer, striding purposefully toward the door. Agnes hurried after him, her voice rising to a near shriek. Absolutely not. That's private property. You can't just... Johnson opened the closet door. It was crammed with an assortment of items, mothballed winter coats, stacks of old newspapers tied with twine, and several boxes overflowing with knickknacks. And tucked away on the top shelf, behind a particularly hideous ceramic gnome, was a brightly colored box with butterflies on it. He reached up and pulled it down. Dust motes danced in the air as he handed the kit to Agnes. Is this it, Mrs. Crabtree? Agnes's face was a mask of fury and embarrassment. She snatched the box, her fingers trembling. I was going to return it. I just hadn't gotten around to it yet. Of course, Johnson said, his voice flat. He scribbled something in his notepad. Well, Mrs. Crabtree, I think we're done here. Just a reminder that interfering with the mail is a federal offense. I trust this won't happen again. Agnes mumbled something unintelligible, her eyes fixed on the butterfly kit. Johnson offered a polite nod. Have a good day, Mrs. Crabtree. He turned and walked out, leaving Agnes standing in the doorway, clutching the box like a lifeline. The door clicked shut and the sudden silence was deafening. Butterflies and apologies. Agnes Crabtree stood before the hastily assembled HOA board, her face a roadmap of crimson embarrassment. The community clubhouse felt suddenly small, the air thick with unspoken accusations. Lily, perched on a chair beside her mother, squeezed her hand. The hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to amplify the silence. Mrs. Crabtree, we've reviewed the security footage as well as the testimony provided by other parties, Mr. Henderson, the HOA president, said, his voice tight. The footage clearly shows you removing a package from the Chun residence porch on Tuesday afternoon. Agnes shifted her weight, her gaze darting towards the floral-patterned carpet. She mumbled something inaudible. Speak up, Agnes, Mrs. Davison prompted, her voice sharper than usual. Agnes sighed, the sound heavy with defeat. Fine. Yes, I took the package. I thought it was my new bird feeder. It was the same size. A blatant lie. Lily peered through the peephole. It was Mrs. Crabtree, her shoulders slumped, her usual perfectly coiffed hair slightly disheveled. Lily opened the door cautiously. Mrs. Crabtree didn't meet her eyes. Lily, she began, her voice unusually soft. I owe you and your family an apology. I was wrong. Terribly wrong. I let my curiosity get the better of me. And I panicked when I realized what I'd done. She looked up then, and Lily saw genuine regret in her eyes. I'm sorry I invaded your privacy. I'm sorry I lied. And I'm especially sorry for trying to blame it on you. Mrs. Chen stepped forward, placing a hand on Lily's shoulder. Thank you, Mrs. Crabtree. We appreciate your apology. Agnes nodded, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. I hope you can forgive me. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Lily, with her parents watching, carried the butterfly habitat into the garden. The butterflies, sensing their impending freedom, fluttered excitedly against the mesh. Taking a deep breath, Lily unzipped the enclosure. One by one, the butterflies emerged, their wings catching the sunlight. They circled her head, a kaleidoscope of colors, before flitting towards the blossoming rose bushes and lavender plants. Lily watched them go, a sense of peace settling over her. The garden felt vibrant, alive with new possibilities. She knew that Mrs. Crabtree's actions had consequences, but she also knew that everyone made mistakes. The important thing was to learn from them. As a monarch landed gently on her outstretched finger, Lily smiled. This was her garden, her haven, and now it was also a sanctuary for the butterflies, a symbol of forgiveness and new beginnings. She knew she would always be curious, but she also understood the importance of respecting other people's boundaries and the potential hurt that could come from crossing them. The butterflies, so delicate and beautiful, were a constant reminder of that lesson.